A traffic light changes while you're halfway across the street. One hand carries a bag, your head turns toward a car, and the curb arrives sooner than expected. That ordinary moment asks your body to solve several problems before you have time to think about them. Independence after 70 is often decided in moments like this, not during a scheduled workout. The question is not simply whether you can walk or whether your doctor calls you active. The better question is whether your body still has more ability than an ordinary day normally requires. That extra margin is what allows you to react, recover, travel, shop, climb, and live without planning around every obstacle. In this video, we will examine 7 things a capable body should still be able to do after 70. They are not athletic tricks, and this is not a contest against another person your age. Each action reveals a different part of the system: strength, speed, balance, coordination, endurance, or attention. The 7th is the one most people never test, even though daily life demands it constantly. And losing one ability does not mean it is gone forever, or that age alone caused the change. Pain, medication, illness, vision, confidence, and inactivity can all change performance, sometimes in treatable ways. Use these 7 abilities as questions for your routine, not as dangerous challenges to attempt without support. The first ability is rising from an ordinary chair with control. This movement looks simple because most adults have repeated it thousands of times. But beneath the surface, the feet must find pressure, the trunk must move forward, and the legs must create force. The brain has to coordinate that sequence quickly enough to lift the body's center of mass over the feet. When leg power begins to fall, the movement does not always disappear immediately. Instead, the body finds substitutions that can hide the loss for years. The hands push against the armrests, the chest swings forward, or several rocking attempts create momentum. Those strategies are not failures. They are information about how close the task may be to your current limit. A person with a large strength reserve can rise slowly, quickly, or while holding something light. A person near the limit may still stand, but only under one exact set of conditions. That difference matters when a chair is lower, softer, unfamiliar, or has nothing solid to push against. It also matters after illness, when a few inactive days can temporarily reduce force and confidence. Clinicians use repeated chair stands because the task reflects leg strength, endurance, balance, and transferability. But you do not need to turn your living room into a formal examination. Simply notice what your body uses when you rise from a stable chair during the day. Do both feet stay planted? Does the movement remain controlled? And do the legs perform most of the work? If you need your hands, keep using them for safety rather than proving a point. The useful response is to train the missing capacity under conditions where falling is unlikely. Supported chair rises, a slightly higher seat, or supervised strength work can provide that signal. As control improves, the movement can progress through repetitions, slower lowering, or modest resistance. The goal is not soreness, and it is not a dramatic before and after test. The goal is to keep ordinary chairs comfortably below your maximum ability. That margin protects more than standing. It supports toilets, cars, restaurants, and getting out of bed. It also gives the nervous system repeated practice coordinating force through the hips, knees, and ankles. If a new inability to stand appears suddenly, or comes with marked weakness, pain, dizziness, or breathlessness, investigate it medically. A gradual decline deserves attention too, because compensation can make it easy to ignore. The first ability is therefore not merely getting upright. It is rising with enough control that the chair does not dictate where you can go. If preserving that kind of independence matters to you, subscribe to Feynman's Body Code, and tell us your age and country in the comments. It is always remarkable to see where this community is watching from. The second ability begins once you're standing, changing your walking speed when the situation demands it. Many people judge walking only by distance, step count, or whether they completed the usual route. But everyday mobility also depends on the difference between your comfortable speed and your faster, safe speed. That difference is a form of reserve. You use it when a crossing signal changes, rain begins, an elevator door opens, or someone needs help ahead of you. If comfortable walking already requires nearly all available effort, there is little speed left for the unexpected. Walking speed is not produced by the legs alone. The heart and lungs deliver energy. The nervous system times each step, and the senses map the path ahead. Hip muscles stabilize the pelvis while the ankle pushes the body forward. The arms and trunk control rotation, so that speed does not turn into instability. This is why a slower pace can reflect many different limitations rather than one weak muscle. Pain may shorten the step, poor vision may create caution, and low endurance may make the body conserve energy. Fear after a fall can also slow walking, even when the tissues have healed. The useful observation is not whether you match a number found on the internet. Notice whether you can briefly increase pace on a clear, level path without losing posture or feeling unsafe. Do the steps become faster while remaining organized, or do they become shorter, wider, and uncertain? Never test faster walking in traffic, on a treadmill without familiarity, or in a cluttered hallway. A safe rail, companion, or professional assessment is a better choice when balance is uncertain. To preserve speed reserve, ordinary walking should sometimes include a modest change of pace. That may mean several short, brisk intervals separated by comfortable walking. It may also mean practicing a purposeful start, a controlled stop, and a change of direction. The nervous system needs experience with these transitions before an unexpected situation demands them. Strength training supports the push against the ground, while aerobic activity supports repeated faster steps. Good footwear, corrected vision, and treatment of pain can be just as important as exercise. The goal is not to turn every walk into a race. It is to keep a second gear available when normal life briefly asks for more. A capable walking system does not only cover distance, it changes speed without losing control. The third ability is climbing up and coming down a flight of stairs. Stairs expose limitations that level walking can keep hidden. Going up demands enough force to raise the body against gravity, one step at a time. The supporting leg must produce force, while the opposite foot clears the next edge. The heart and lungs must also respond quickly because the work rises much faster than it does on flat ground. Coming down is a different problem, and often the more revealing one. The thigh muscles must act like brakes, controlling the body's descent instead of merely pushing upward. The foot has to find a smaller target, while vision estimates depth and the inner ear tracks the moving head. This is why someone may climb upward confidently, yet become cautious, sideways, or dependent on the rail when descending. That pattern is not imaginary, and it is not simply a lack of courage. Ascending and descending place different demands on strength, joint control, depth perception, and balance. A rail is a safety tool, not evidence that the stairs no longer count. The important question is whether the rail assists the movement or carries most of your body weight. Also notice whether one leg always leads while the other avoids accepting load. Painful knees, hip weakness, ankle stiffness, poor vision, and some medications can all change stair confidence. Breathlessness may point toward conditioning, but new or unusual breathlessness deserves medical assessment. Do not repeatedly climb stairs for a self-test if you have fallen, feel dizzy, or cannot control the descent. Instead, preserve the ingredients in safer forms. Supported step-ups can train upward force using a low stable step. Controlled sit-to-stand lowering can train the braking action needed on the way down. Calf raises and ankle mobility support foot clearance and push-off. Balance practice and adequate lighting improve the information available to the nervous system. When stairs are part of your home, avoiding them completely may reduce confidence and capacity further. But forcing painful or unsafe repetitions is not the solution either. The correct challenge is one the body can control today and adapt to tomorrow. Stair ability matters because buildings, transportation, family homes, and emergencies do not always offer a level alternative. It represents a useful combination of force, braking, vision, endurance, and confidence. The third ability is not racing upstairs. It is moving between levels without the staircase deciding which parts of life remain accessible. The fourth ability is carrying a useful load while continuing to move. A grocery bag looks like an arm task, but the entire body participates. The fingers close around the handle and the forearm maintains grip while the shoulder keeps the load near the trunk. The trunk resists being pulled sideways, and the opposite hip prevents the pelvis from dropping. Meanwhile, the legs must continue producing even steps under an uneven load. This is why carrying reveals more than hand strength. It combines grip, shoulder capacity, trunk stability, walking control, and confidence. When this ability declines, people often adapt by making more trips or buying only what is easy to carry. Those are sensible solutions, but they can hide a shrinking reserve. The same limitation appears when lifting laundry, moving a cooking pot, carrying a small suitcase, or holding a grandchild. Grip strength is often studied because it reflects broader physical condition, not because the hand controls aging by itself. A weak grip may accompany lower muscle strength, illness, pain, nerve problems, or reduced activity. The more useful question is functional. Can you securely hold and transport an ordinary object appropriate for you? The load should not pull your posture sideways or make the feet cross unpredictably. You should also be able to place it down with control rather than dropping the final few inches. Do not test this with a heavy bag, breakable object, or load that blocks your view. Begin with something manageable. Keep the path clear, and use both hands when that is safer. Training can start with a light bag or household object carried for a short distance. The weight can increase gradually only while grip, posture, breathing, and walking remain organized. Rows, presses, and other appropriately chosen resistance exercises can support the shoulders and arms. But loaded carrying has a special value because it asks the body to stabilize while moving. That is closer to what real life demands. Hand arthritis, numbness, neck problems, or shoulder pain may require different handles or professional guidance. A sudden loss of grip, especially on one side, should never be dismissed as normal aging. The purpose is not to prove how much weight you can tolerate. It is to keep ordinary objects from becoming barriers that reorganize your entire day. A useful body can create force and also transport that force through space. That is what turns strength into groceries on the counter rather than a number on a machine. The fourth ability is carrying enough for your life while remaining steady enough to arrive safely. The fifth ability is recovering when balance is disturbed. Most discussions of balance focus on standing perfectly still with the body arranged in one position. Static balance matters, but real falls rarely begin while someone is posing for a test. They begin when a foot catches, a surface changes, a pet crosses the path, or the body turns too quickly. At that moment, the nervous system has to detect the error and organize a correction. The eyes report the environment, the inner ear reports head motion, and the feet report pressure against the ground. The brain compares those signals and decides whether to shift the ankle, move the hip, or take a step. Then the muscles must create enough force before the center of mass moves beyond recovery. Balance is therefore not one sense and not one muscle. It is a rapid agreement between sensation, decision, and movement. With age, sensation in the feet may become less precise, and reaction speed may slow. Vision may become more important, which is why darkness or visual clutter can suddenly expose instability. Weakness reduces the size of the correction the body can produce. Fear may then make every movement smaller and more rigid, which can create a second problem. A stiff body has fewer strategies available when the unexpected occurs. The goal is not to practice nearly falling. It is to train balance under controlled conditions where a solid support and another person are available when needed. Simple work may include weight shifts, narrow but supported standing, controlled turns, or stepping in different directions. The challenge should change gradually rather than jumping from easy standing to an unstable device. Strength at the ankle, hip, and trunk gives each balance strategy more authority. Vision checks, suitable footwear, and medication review may remove obstacles that exercise cannot solve. Notice whether you avoid turning your head while walking or freeze when someone brushes past you. Notice whether every small trip requires grabbing furniture or produces several uncontrolled steps. Those observations are more useful than seeing how long you can balance alone with your eyes closed. If you have fallen, nearly fallen repeatedly, or developed new unsteadiness, ask for a proper fall risk assessment. The body can often improve balance because the system remains trainable, but it improves through specific practice, not through hoping that ordinary walking covers every possibility. The fifth ability is not standing like a statue. It is producing the right correction when the world refuses to stay still. That correction preserves confidence because you know a small mistake does not automatically become a fall. The sixth ability is reaching the floor and returning from it. This is the action many people avoid discussing because it carries an uncomfortable question. What would happen if you ended up on the floor when no one else was in the room? Getting up requires more than strong knees. The body must roll, reposition the limbs, tolerate pressure through the hands, and move toward a stable support. The hips need mobility, the legs need force, and the brain must organize a sequence under stress. Breathing and confidence matter because panic makes problem-solving harder. Research on floor transfers shows that the ability is connected with broader physical function and need for assistance. Yet many adults stop visiting the floor years before they actually lose the capacity. They stop gardening low, playing with grandchildren, reaching under furniture, or performing floor exercises. The movement becomes unfamiliar, and unfamiliar movement feels more dangerous. That creates a difficult loop. Avoidance reduces practice, and reduced practice increases avoidance. This does not mean everyone should lower themselves to the floor today. Osteoporosis, joint replacement, severe pain, dizziness, weakness, or previous falls may make unsupervised practice unsafe. A physical therapist can teach a strategy adapted to your joints, strength, and home environment. For some people, the first step is not a full floor transfer. It may be practicing kneeling at a padded surface while holding stable furniture. It may be moving from a chair toward a half-kneeling position under supervision. Others may begin by learning how to roll, crawl toward support, and call for help after a fall. The method matters because there is no single elegant way to stand from the floor. Many successful strategies use the hands, move through kneeling, and rely on a solid chair. Using support does not make the ability meaningless. The real objective is solving the situation without causing a second injury. Strength work for chair rises, hips, pushing and carrying supports the pieces of this task. Mobility work can preserve the positions needed to move one leg forward or place the hands securely. Regular safe contact with lower positions keeps the sequence familiar to the nervous system. Also make the environment easier to solve. Keep a phone accessible and know which furniture is stable. If a fall occurs with severe pain, head injury, chest symptoms, or inability to bear weight, call for help rather than forcing the transfer. The sixth ability is not performing a graceful floor exercise. It is having a plan, enough capacity, and enough familiarity to avoid being trapped by one unexpected event. That brings us to the seventh ability, the one that connects the previous six. It is moving while your attention is doing something else. A quiet hallway allows the brain to dedicate nearly everything to walking. Real life rarely offers that simplicity. You walk while reading signs, answering a question, carrying a bag, watching traffic, or deciding where to turn. These are dual tasks. Movement and thought competing for a limited pool of attention. When the system has reserve, walking may slow slightly, but remain smooth and stable. When reserve is narrow, the second task can disrupt step timing, posture, or awareness of obstacles. Some people stop walking completely whenever they begin speaking. Others continue walking but lose the conversation, drift sideways, or shorten each step. None of those responses proves a diagnosis. They show that the combined demand is closer to the system's current limit than either task alone. This ability depends on vision, hearing, processing speed, memory, balance, and physical capacity at the same time. That is why the seventh item cannot be replaced by stronger legs alone. A person may perform well on a machine yet struggle in a crowded store where decisions arrive continuously. The practical observation is simple. Does ordinary conversation noticeably reorganize the way you walk? Do you need to stop before answering? Or does the path become less controlled when attention shifts? Do not test this by counting backward on stairs, near traffic, or anywhere a mistake has consequences. Safe dual-task practice begins with an easy motor task, a simple mental task, and a clear environment. For example, supported standing while naming familiar categories may be enough at first. A later step might be easy walking with a companion while answering uncomplicated questions. The motor task should remain safe before the mental demand becomes harder. If walking deteriorates sharply, reduce the challenge instead of practicing poor control. Hearing aids, updated glasses, pain treatment, and fewer distracting hazards can free attention from movement. Aerobic fitness and strength increase physical reserve, while varied movement gives the brain more strategies to choose from. Learning new routes, dance steps, or coordinated games may combine physical and cognitive demands naturally. The point is not to perform mental arithmetic while exercising. It is to keep movement reliable when life asks the brain to notice more than one thing. This is the ability behind crossing streets, navigating airports, shopping, cooking, and responding to another person while moving. It reveals whether the body and brain still operate as one adaptable system. The seventh ability is therefore not an extra trick added to walking. It is the version of walking that ordinary independence actually requires. Now place all 7 abilities beside one another. Rise, change speed, use stairs, carry, recover balance, reach the floor, and move while thinking. They look like separate tasks, but they share a common principle. Each requires enough reserve that the action remains below your maximum capacity. When an ability moves close to the maximum, people begin reorganizing life around avoiding it. They choose only chairs with arms, wait for another elevator, carry nothing, avoid crowds, or stop visiting homes with stairs. Adaptation is intelligent, especially when safety is involved. But adaptation should also trigger a question: which capacity has become too expensive? For the next 7 days, observe one ability each day rather than testing all 7 at once. On the first day, notice how you rise from several different chairs. On the second, notice whether your walking has a safe second gear. On the third, observe whether going downstairs feels different from going up. On the fourth, notice what happens to posture and steps while carrying an ordinary object. On the fifth, record moments when a small disturbance forces you to grab support. On the sixth, consider whether you know a safe strategy for getting up from the floor. On the seventh, notice whether talking or looking around changes your walking pattern. Do not score yourself against a stranger or convert this into a judgment about age. Look for the clearest gap between what life asks and what the body can comfortably provide. Then choose the safest practical entrance to that one ability. It may be strength training, balance work, walking intervals, vision care, pain treatment, or professional rehabilitation. One well-chosen change is more useful than 7 exercises performed without understanding the limitation. The body does not maintain an ability because it appeared on a birthday checklist. It maintains the systems that are used, challenged appropriately, nourished, and allowed to recover. 70 is not an expiration date, and needing support is not a personal failure. But a disappearing ability is valuable information before it becomes a permanent boundary. Find the action that has become narrower, slower, or more carefully avoided. Restore its ingredients gradually, while the task is still a warning rather than a crisis. The goal is not to move like someone younger. It is to keep your own life larger than the obstacles inside it.